just to kind of summarize, what would you suggest are the main benefits from being vulnerable?
Well, it's relatability and connectivity. And, empathy is a powerful emotion. And honestly, if we had more empathy in the world, I think the world would be very different. Especially, this is me going out on a line here, but I look at all the challenges in the world, and there's typically a man sitting at the table. So as a man who identifies as a man, I'm just saying, I know that we are the root of a lot of problems in the world as a gender, and so I feel that there's some work to be done, and I think there's some shifts that we can make as men, and I think, if I'm speaking to men specifically on this subject, even if they think life's been amazing and great and they've achieved a lot and vulnerability hasn't been a part of that, I'm like, can you imagine what it would be if you started to introduce vulnerability? Because what I want people to see is that it's actually a valuable skill to learn, because it will allow you deeper connection, deeper understanding, deeper relatability, but also allow people to experience deeper and more sincere and authentic empathy, because we now understand what is someone experiencing. Or at least we're aware, because we can often relate to what challenges other people are going through. If we just open up and talk about it. Prime example, I remember, this is going back, I guess about 5 years ago, when I started a men's group in Bali while I was living there with my family. And it's called Mentorship Mondays. Okay, so Mentorship Mondays. And we get together for dinner and conversation every Monday night. It was an open invitation. People just showed up if they wanted to come. You had to be a man. I mean, it was for men only. But we would show up at the back of this gym where they had a cafe, and we would eat and connect, And what was really interesting this one night was we had just over 20 guys around the table. The youngest guy was 18. The eldest guy was 72. We also had 9 different cultures represented around that table of 22, 23 men. So it was an eclectic group spanning literally decades of experience. And when we open up the meeting, we always say, hey, what's alive and real for you? And then we allow one man to speak at a time to just share what's going on. What's alive and real for you right now? Like, what's going on for you? What's great? What's challenging? What are you proud of? Like, it was just what's alive and real right now for you. What are you present to right now in your life? And feel free to share it. And always the first person to go sets the tone for the meeting. That 72-year-old put up his hand first and started to share about something that he'd been struggling with his entire life, or at least, from the point that he said he was about 40. So like his latter half of life, he remembers this very vividly, this challenge. And out of privacy, I won't share what it is, but it was a substance related challenge. And he shared openly, and it was such a powerful share. He talked a bit about what his struggles were, some of the things that led to him feeling those struggles. But more importantly, he was also sharing what he'd been doing as of late that's been helping him. So there's that little bit of accountability of not only talking about the problems or challenges that we're navigating, but also what are we actively doing to try to work through those, so we can share and learn from each other's experiences, but also offer support where support seems necessary or valuable. We can offer that guidance if someone's open to it and say, hey, that happened to me too. Here's what I did, and this 18-year-old, it was his first time being there. And when he first came into the room, it was like a deer in headlights, as the expression goes. He was like, where am I? I see all these guys sitting around the table. Do I want to be here right now? You can just see it in his eyes. He was like a little bit of fear, a little bit of question. He's like, why am I here? And of course we greeted him. We made him feel welcome, got him at the table. And then we just sort of set the tone of what to expect, right? And so he's just looking around like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I should be here. And because that 72-year-old went first and started sharing about something that he'd been struggling with and what he'd been doing, here's the most interesting thing. He finished his share. Like, hey, anybody else want to share? The 18-year-old put up his hand. And I was like, he's just brand new, just got here. He's only heard one guy talk. I mean, he's only been here like 15 minutes. And he's put up his hand already to share. And he shared the fact that he'd been struggling with the exact same thing that the 72-year-old just talked about. He's like, me too. I've been struggling with this. and here's how it's been affecting my life. And the most interesting thing was that once the meeting was all done, there's often conversations that happen after the meeting. That's where a lot of the mentorship actually happens, is post-meeting. And I remember talking to the 18-year-old, he's like, you know what? I didn't know why I came tonight. I shared with you guys something that I've never told anybody. And I shared that tonight. And I'm like, well, how do you feel about that? I feel great. I realize I'm not alone.
Thanks for watching the Radical Health Rebel YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to share with your friends and family, or share via your social media. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon to receive notifications of new video clips from the podcast. And if you want to watch the full episode, completely ad-free, plus premium content, and join the Radical Health Rebel Patreon community, head on over to the Radical Health Rebel Patreon channel at www.patreon.com/Radical Health Rebel. Thanks again for watching.